Coco Chanel once said that some people think that the opposite of luxury is poverty, but it is not. The opposite of luxury is vulgarity. Now, she said this, but whenever we think of luxury, we think of extravagance and obnoxiousness. So is there a way that we can indulge in luxury without feeling guilty?
Hi everyone, this is Women Talk, and as Zoraya so eloquently put it, today we're talking about luxury. So over the generations, luxury has always mattered as a sign of showing status and wealth. But what is our fascination and, dare I say, obsession with luxury? Where does it come from and at what cost? Joining us today, we have two lovely ladies talking to us about luxury, and they come from different sides of the industry and have worked for many, many years. So please welcome Sunita Tayaparan. You're the head of communications for an international luxury fashion and lifestyle retail group, and also former deputy editor at a leading high-end fashion magazine here in Malaysia.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have Erin Adlina, financial advisor and planner, and also KOL for luxury brands, and also her and I do a lot of sports together, so we have a relationship outside of the studio as well, don't we, Erin?
So you're looking very luxurious today, ladies.
Thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit about luxury. So when it comes to luxury, what does that word even actually mean? What weight does that carry? Sunita?
Well, I think it is very personal. You know, definitions of luxury are very individual. It could be anything from a beautifully crafted bag. It could also be an experience, you know. I think luxury is very much about, at this day and age, curated experiences. I think the standards have changed.
Do you remember your first memory with a luxury item?
I'll tell you. You know, luxury items aside, I mean, obviously there's, you know, jewelry and all of that, but I'll tell you, my first real understanding of what luxury is.
That's a good way to put it.
I was a student in, you know, UWA in Australia, and I was at a residential college, St. George's College, and I remember I had this view of the Matilda Bay. And I knew, I mean, literally, St. George's had this incredible view. And, you know, there were like, you know, $1 million properties, you know, all through it. And I was thinking to myself, it's not likely that I will ever have this view again, you know, and that is such a luxury, you know, to be able to appreciate that in the moment.
Well, I think it's luxury is aspirational, you know. For me, my memory of it is, I think back to those Sophia Loren or Liz Taylor movies of, and it was really the movies that painted this pretty picture of what luxury looked like, and you wanted to acquire it, you wanted to own it, right? This aspirational picture. What is it for you?
Luxury, I think we sort of align when it comes to understanding what is luxury. In fact, for me, I do invest a lot in things that makes me feel good instead of just material things that can be kept. But my very first experience understanding luxury was when I was probably in primary school. I don't quite understand women and handbags. I was in school. So it's when she explained to me the story behind it.
How did it make you feel to like see that bag, or how did you even recognize that you knew it was something special?
When I don't understand luxury, it's just a bag. When I understood the value, the story behind it, that's when I know this means something to her. It should. It comes with a story. It should mean something to people who owns it. So it makes a big difference between seeing just a bag and seeing the value of the bag and the story behind it.
So speaking about value, and you know, you have a financial planner background as well, I can't help but bring up the word investment. You know, and often when you talk about certain material goods, right? People, you know, women always say, oh, you know, it's an investment, and I think we use the word quite lightly, but investment or indulgence, like, what are your thoughts?
For me and my mom, I think it's more indulgence. We will never, ever sell whatever we have. So we're very selective with regards to what we purchase. We don't necessarily buy anything that's trendy. We buy more classic stuffs. And with the both of us, because the both of us are in the financial planning line, we made sure we have a quota of 2 bags per year. So that elevates the value because we don't spend our money just on anything, any bags that we like. We carefully think about, okay, do we get a classic or do we get like a trendy bag that's not gonna, it's not gonna be relevant in the next 2 years. So that's how I see it, I would say.
Sunita, what about you? Like when you think about investing in luxury items and stuff, what do you...
Men will invest in watches, you know. Women definitely invest in jewelry. When we're talking about, you know, bags and shoes and that sort of thing, those are obviously... A bag could be an investment piece, but not necessarily so, because, you know, as...
Some people won't sell.
Exactly, and as Erin
And some don't have intrinsic value, I mean, beyond the purchase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the value is really also what you're investing into the product. Because if you're buying to sort of like wait for the, you know, price to rise, then that's a whole different game.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to luxury, we very often, I mean, I love what she said about the story, because that is really, you know, what we're coming to, the narrative, you know, like, you know, certain houses have this storied narratives and you buy into that, you know. But you could also go to a store which has a, you know, beautifully crafted bag. It may not be of that higher value, but it is a luxury item because, you know, it's of a certain price point. And depending on, you know, where you are, you know, with your disposable income, you know, it's a luxury item to you. So I think it's very
This reminds me of the story that I think was in the Singapore news recently of this girl who used a certain kind of a high street brand's bag, and she put it on her social media, really proud and like, you know, my dad aspired to like be able to afford to buy me this bag one day, and here I have it. And she was made fun of and essentially bullied on social media. And but like to your point that you made, that's what luxury was to her, and it is such a personal thing. And then the brand went on to make her an ambassador, and she's secured various other contracts since. So that's a really beautiful hair-raising story.
Luxury as a status symbol, it is the easiest identifier. If I come into a room and I am dripping with whatever jewelry or whatever bag, you know, it is the first indicator that you have arrived. And it is the easiest indicator to translate. People understand it, they recognize it. So that's why you drive the big car, you know, the luxury car. That's why you even, you know, go on the holidays and post that on social media. Anything that is a luxury high-ticket item is immediately, in a way, indicative of your self-worth. I'm not saying that's how it should be, but it is for many people, you know, and it is at least, you know, it shows the world, this is where I stand in life.
Well, when we come back from the break, we can talk maybe a little bit more about the pros and cons of that kind of mentality and if it's good to indulge in that kind of culture or if there are negatives to it as well. So we'll see you back after the break.
Welcome back to Women Talk. We're talking about our love affair with all things luxury, and the famous quote from Marie Antoinette from France many, many years ago. She said, "Let them eat cake." And this was a sign of her disconnect with the reality of people around her. So now talking about fashion and luxury, I can't help but highlight our post-COVID reality, right? It shifted how we thought about the world, about ourselves. It made us re-evaluate our value system. And we looked at a lot of people who were flaunting their luxury as disconnected with the reality of people around the world who were suffering, and there was recessions. So that was one point, right? Has it really shifted? Have we moved maybe to say minimalist luxury? We look at like Marie Kondo, and people were talking about stripping back, you know, going back to bare essentials? Or have we just bounced back to like revenge luxury? What do you guys think?
Revenge luxury.
I mean, there is this interesting thing that's been happening is that people don't want to actually flaunt like branded goods, and they've actually turned to becoming a lot more minimalist in a sense, but they're still buying luxury items. It's just, it's not heavily branded.
I think that, okay, so you're talking about understated luxury.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's quiet.
Yeah.
So we're talking, you know, no logos.
Yeah.
No ostensible brand. I think a lot of people are very much, you know, into this now because, as you say, it isn't a thing to sort of flaunt your wealth. However, there are still the people
who do.
who are going to buy into that because they They're looking at the luxury signifier. So they need to have the logo and they need to have the brand. Otherwise, it's meaningless to them.
Yeah.
So I really think it depends on where you are as an individual. The truly rich never really like to flaunt brands.
They don't like to show it off. It's not showy.
Oh, exactly.
At all. You know, they're very, very discreet about their wealth. They will spend on experiences, they will spend on travel, they will spend their money, but they're not spending money on things that will sort of, you know, it's very aspirational to do that. And then they will also buy, you know, the bags that are beautifully made, no logo, you know, and there are a lot of brands, I mean, you know, that I know of and that, you know, that I work with that are...
they move in the same direction, like they understand...
They understand their customers.
Exactly, exactly. So it's really about the market, isn't it?
There is this idea of buy less, wear longer. So I don't need to, you know, I don't need to go out and buy 100 of something, or I don't need to own a 50 of something. I can have a couple, but I buy quality. And it doesn't have to be the highest priced item on the shelf, but I buy quality, it lasts well. I think about fashion and the environment and sustainability, perhaps. That's also a different spending habit, right, from consumers.
True. Do you practice that?
I definitely do, and I have to live up to my career as a financial planner. I can't be someone who splurged so much or spend 80% of my earnings just because I love luxury. I think we're all women. If we were to by choice want to indulge, we would love to do that. However, I do know, and I'm surrounded in a circle of people who are very heavily in social media, and sometimes it's totally understandable when they see each other carrying new things and they're
temptation.
Exactly. there's that temptation. I feel totally like what Sunita mentioned. There are the rich who are more understated, but I believe it's very subjective because there are some that wants to really show. There are some who appreciates things because it makes them happy, and that's about it.
Well, you know, people are living for the gram. I think we can't ignore the fact that I need to buy this and wear this because it's going on my Instagram and everyone needs to know.
So are there ethics then when it comes to luxury, do you think?
I think it's individual. Now, you talked about redefining luxury, and I think a lot of people, post, you know, COVID, were looking at time in a very different way. You know, that truly is a luxury, and you know, at the end of the day, people are, you know, sort of redefining what's important to them, and they're not viewing time anymore as a luxury but as a necessity. So they're, you know, sort of like changing the way they work, changing the way they play, changing the way they consume, you know. But at the same time, so that's the interesting thing about the world, is that you will always have the people who are interested in the signifiers of luxury, and I'm very thankful for that because that, you know, keeps us in business. I'll be honest. You know, but you will also have the people who are looking for the curated experiences, who are looking for, you know, the narratives. You know, when they travel, they're not just, you know, going to any destination. They want to know the, you know, the history, and they really sort of do the research before they go, you know.
And so quickly, just before we jump to break, to touch on sustainable fashion, there are, I mean, it's not everybody, but there are people who are changing how they consume luxury. Like, I still want to buy things, I still want to spend my money, I still like these brands, but I'm a little bit conscious about what they pay people or what materials they use and things like this. So ethical, sustainable fashion. But you do see brands shifting, you do see different collaborations and partnerships. So the brands they understand that they need to give consumers what they want if they still want to speak to, I guess, younger generations.
Brands can't afford to ignore, you know, the growing Gen Z market that is demanding that they be more conscious about how they produce.
And especially how loud they are nowadays. They, you know, about the museum incidents and how they're going around.
Oh, you get bashed.
Yeah, exactly. So when brands probably, if they don't respond to that, they would lose business.
We'll talk a little bit more about luxury when we come back from the break. Welcome back to the episode where we're speaking about material girl in a material world and what luxury really means. So I want to jump to Erin quickly and I want to ask you, so what are some of the traits that you see when it comes to consumers? What are the behaviors that they do when it comes to indulging in buying luxury goods? Are they doing this impulsively or is it a calculated buy?
That, I believe, depends on the individual with money. However, this is what I noticed right after the pandemic, after the lockdown. There's a lot of people shopping like crazy. I swear, you see everyone.
I saw queues outside a lot of stores.
Yeah, it was pretty fascinating knowing that, wow, we just went through a time where everyone was sort of like, well, not in trouble, but they're being more careful. But I do notice that there are a lot of businesses that thrives very well during the pandemic, and those are the ones I can see really spend. I do notice there are also some newer rich in the market nowadays, and totally different than how they were 3-4 years ago. Whether or not they spend impulsively, I believe calculated. I would say calculated. However, they gotta make sure that they're the first to perhaps
own it.
Exactly. Yeah, I see that.
There's a reason why it's called retail therapy.
Yeah,
it does something for the soul. Apparently.
Erin, what's some advice that you can give me so that I can watch my finances and still be able to afford to buy like luxury bags?
All right. Okay. When I say whatever I'm about to say, it's not to offend. I just want to sort of give my advice. I deal with a lot of clients. I deal with a lot of clients that are of different backgrounds. I've seen people who spends this much and spends 80% of their money for a luxury, for traveling. Yes. So
that's crazy.
Look at it this way. There are people who are spending ringgit 1 million worth of lifestyle, but they can't afford to purchase ringgit 1 million worth of insurance policy, for example. So that's
that's not good.
It's not good.
Let's just say it for what it is.
It's not a good balance, and I think we need to be really careful with what we have that's liquid versus what we have in material possession. I've seen some friends who had to suddenly do like a what sale? What do you call that?
Like those mass sales.
Pre-love sale, just because they went into trouble. Nothing wrong with that. It's okay. But I think that also taught them to be extra careful moving forward. And I believe we all learned our lessons. I myself, I was young and I was very grateful that I made it, alhamdulillah, earlier when I was younger. But I also have made bad decisions before. So I learned to be very cautious due to my mistakes. So now I make sure early of the month or right after I get my pay, it will be to my policies, it will be to my investments, it will be to pay off my loans first. But I do indulge. There's a balance.
Yeah, the key word is balance, right? And Sunita, what about yourself?
Well,
do you agree with everything Erin has said?
I have to say I do. I think luxury is very personal. It is very individual. It is very much a state of your mind as well. I mean, we were talking just now about if you are purchasing a luxury item to sort of bolster your self-worth, I think you're on a slippery slope, and I think, you should really consider. What Erin is saying is she makes judicious decisions when it comes to her luxury purchases, which I think is very smart. And I think luxury is great. I think it's important, it makes you feel, it gives you that little buzz. As you said, it's a little retail therapy. You can feel good from it. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And in your industry, you probably have to go to so many extravagant and glamorous things. So luxury is something that you have to carry with you all the time.
Well, yeah, it's part of my job.
I have to be luxurious, whether I want to or not.
But what I do think is that it is about balance. I think that there is nothing wrong with luxury. Just make sure that
for the right reasons.
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
Shop for the right reasons.
I think also what we were talking about earlier, just that luxury is so individual, and what might be luxurious to you might not be luxurious to someone else. One man's trash is another man's treasure, as they say.
Absolutely.
Well,
so when it comes to luxury, it's about what you think about it and carry yourself in a way that you feel luxurious.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, you can top to toe all material stuff on the outside, but it's what's on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep saying
we
keep saying this on the show all the time. I know we may sound like a broken record, but
So cliche.
That's what makes you look and feel $1 million
Yeah.
at the end of the day. It helps,
exactly.
but it's what's on the inside that counts.
Luxury is a state of mind.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Well,
ladies,
thank
for
you very
joining
much.
us. It was a great conversation.
Thanks for
And yeah, thank you to all of our audience out there. Hope to see you guys on the next one. Until then, take care.